Hello and welcome to today's episode of Piano TV. We are going to be talking about my favorite grade 4 level books. And this is something that I've enjoyed doing for every grade. So if you aren't at a grade 4 level, which is considered early intermediate, then go back and check out some of my other videos. I did a grade 1 version, grade 2, grade 3, and a preparatory version, or like a beginner, books for beginner version. For the most part, when I'm talking about grade 4 in this video, I'm going to be referring to grade 4 with the Royal Conservatory of Music, although I do believe one or two pieces that I've selected here are also in the grade 4 ABRSM syllabus, and we'll get to those as we talk about them. There are so many books that are at this level, and I've only chosen a small selection. I think there's about somewhere in the ballpark of like a dozen books here, maybe a little bit more. And yeah, so there's like way more that we could talk about, but these are the ones that I've personally used and have test driven in my studio with good success. So let's get started. So let's start by discussing the collection books I have. The collections are just books that have a variety of different composers. They're not particular albums by specific composers. They're kind of like a mix of a whole bunch of different things. The first ones that I want to talk about are the Royal Conservatory of Music grade 4 books. Now, this is a really old book. They don't look like this anymore. They look like this. I just don't have the like brand new grade 4 ones. They're a blue color. But yeah, so grade 4 repertoire book is going to have a mix of list A's, list B's, and list C's. And these are the different categories of pieces that you can learn. A is Baroque, B is classical, and C is more contemporary and romantic music. And if you were doing an RCM exam, you would choose one from each of these levels to play. So if you want something really foolproof where you basically just need like one book to rule them all, this might be a good idea. These aren't necessarily valuable for a long-term collection. I don't find. They're just kind of like, I don't know. I don't find myself going back to my old books like this, but some people find them really useful. I just am a bit of a music collector and I like to have individual albums as well. But these are great. The other collection that I want to talk about, and I've mentioned this in, I think, every single one of the previous videos leading up to this one, like the grade 1, 2, 3, is the Essential Keyboard Repertoire. This, I believe, is volume 1. 100 early intermediate selections, Baroque to modern. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a big beastie book with probably somewhere in the ballpark of like, I don't know, if I'm to guess, like 70 songs or something like that, 70 pieces. And they're all between the levels of about grade 1 to grade 5. This is good if you want a book that is going to last you for years and you don't want to like go out and get the individual collections contained in here. So if you don't really care about, say, like Baroque music, then like you don't want the Anna Magdalena notebook or anything like that, this again is kind of like a good foolproof book. Now I would get a couple books alongside this. I wouldn't just get this one by itself because it tends to focus and lean too heavily to like Baroque, like earlier classical, maybe like some romantic music, but not very much. Whereas I like to have a blend of a little bit more styles. I like to do more modern pieces too. But this is a really great collection, and that's why I recommend it every video. But anyway, this is a great first Bach book. You can kind of start here with Bach and then move up to his little preludes, then move up to his inventions and sinfonias, and then the well-tempered clavier, and etc. So this is kind of like, I recommend this to everyone. It's just like beginner steps with Bach. The other book that I enjoy is, I really actually love the Celebrate series. They have Celebrate and then a bunch of different composers. If you just want like a sampling of a composer and not get like a whole bunch of different books by that composer, these Celebrate books are really great. Now Celebrate Scarlatti has basically just like a collection of his sonatas, because that's what Scarlatti's known for on the piano. These are going to range in difficulty from about grade 3 to 8, if I'm, yeah, probably somewhere in there. There's only one piece in here that's on the RCM syllabus at a grade 4 level. It's an aria, but it's really nice. And the collection as a whole is lovely. It is a book that you will grow with and use for many, many years. I have a couple classical music books here to share with you, and this is the same Clementi book that I shared in the grade 3 video. Clementi's Opus 36 6 Sonatinas. Again, kind of like Anna Magdalena notebook, this is a staple, I believe, in any learning pianist's repertoire. It's just, his sonatinas are just really bright, cheery, familiar. They're a great introduction to sonatinas in general as a form, and they serve as a great intermediate gateway to the more advanced level sonatas that you're going to eventually start learning by guys like Beethoven and Haydn and stuff like that. There are also other great sonatina books by guys like Kuhlau, but I don't have them and I haven't taught from them, so it just comes down to like my own personal experience. But if you want to go a different route with classical music and you don't want to just do sonatinas, which are quite challenging and very specific, another great book is Beethoven's Dances for the Piano. This is a collection of early level Beethoven. So basically, this is the Beethoven to do before you do his more difficult sonatinas, which are about like a grade 7 or so level. Again, great gateway to Beethoven's music. There are 3 Romantic era books that I consider to be staples in any piano player's collection. So the first is Schumann's Album for the Young, Opus 68. This is a great little collection of pieces from between a grade 3 to 7 level, so they'll take you through many years of learning, pretty much through the entire intermediate stages. There are specifically 3 RCM grade 4 pieces in here if you're wanting to do an exam or anything like that. There's also 1 ABRSM grade 4 selection in here. A very similar collection is Tchaikovsky's Album for the Young, Opus 39, and it was written in kind of the same vein. Both of these composers were like, you know what, there's not a lot of good music for beginning students. Different perspective of what a beginner was back then, I guess, because these aren't for beginners by our standards nowadays. But anyway, they kind of despaired the music that was available to their students, so they took it upon themselves to write their own collections, and they're really enjoyable. Kids really like them, adults really like them. And just like the other one, there are 3 RCM grade 4 pieces, and there's 1 ABRSM grade 4 piece in here. Then we have Bartók's for children, 1 and 2. I can only find online book 1 and book 2 separately, but my version that's really, really old is both books together. And again, we're kind of looking at the same thing. These books contain a wealth of intermediate level pieces ranging anywhere from grade 1, 2 to grade 7 or so. Bartók's style wasn't romantic like the other 2. His style leaned in a more 20th century direction, and his music is really odd and sometimes very polarizing. Like, people either love Bartók or hate Bartók. He adapted a lot of folk music to the piano, but in really abstract ways. So it's hard to explain without listening to Bartók, but abstract is probably the best word I could use to describe his music. I really love Bartók. I've played Bartók for virtually every exam I've ever done, but not everyone loves him. But this is one of my favorite collections that I consider a staple for most of my students, unless you really hate Bartók. The Études category, or studies, is unique to the Royal Conservatory of Music. They don't have it in ABRSM, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But the Conservatory of Music, here, let me just grab one. They have, again, this is an old one, and this is grade 5. This isn't grade 4. Grade 4 ones are blue. But they have books called Studies or Études for every level. And these are a pretty good foolproof, like I usually recommend these books to my students because they're short. There's only, I think there's about 12 pieces in every collection of studies. This one has 13. Studies are designed to build specific aspects of your technique. So maybe there's I'll give you a few specific examples. So maybe, this one doesn't tell me. The new ones tell you what you're studying in each piece. So it might be like rapid scale passages or fast scale fast staccato articulation or things like that. Studies give you one specific technique to work on, but they're more interesting than scales and patterns like that because they're actually pieces. So the Études books, really, really good. Even if you're not doing like Conservatory of Music exams, you might want to check these out if you're looking for songs that are finger exercises. Now, as far as the specific collection, there is a Kabalevsky Etude at a grade 4 level. I always forget folk dance. It's called folk dance. Now, if you already have this collection, it's a great piece. But if you don't have this collection, it might not be worth your while, because most of the pieces in Kabalevsky's 24 Pieces for Children are quite a bit easier than a grade 4 level. Like, they're basically between grade 1 and 4, I would say. So if you don't already have this in your collection by now, actually some of the later pieces are a little bit more challenging. I see like there's a grade 5 piece, grade 5, grade 6 at absolute most. But yeah, if you don't already have this piece, it might not be, or this book, it might not be worth it, but it is a really cool song. The final category of books that I want to talk about is the pop category. Again, this is unique to the Royal Conservatory of Music. The ABRSM only does A's, B's, and C's. This is usually one of my favorite categories because my students tend to love learning these pieces. And yeah, in general, it's much easier to convince them to practice a more contemporary sounding piece than something by Bach. Even for my students who are really into the classical stuff, tend to love books like this. So first one I'm going to share with you is Christopher Norton's Connections 4 for piano. What I love about these books is that they are foolproof because they're each at the specific grade level that it says it's at. So this one's all grade 4 level pieces, whereas the other collections I've been showing you tend to have a range. So that Kabalevsky book I just showed you is like everywhere from grade 1 to 6 in terms of difficulty. So it's all over the place. It's a book you'll use for many years. Whereas this is something that you can kind of fly through all in a year, and then it's done, and then you can move on to level 5. So it's just easier if you're looking for music that you don't want to have to like figure out exactly what's at what level. These are great options. Now, the other thing I love about Christopher Norton's books is that like everyone loves the music in these books. I love them. My students love them, like adult students, young students. They've got a variety of styles. There's like Latin, jazz, modern, rock, lyrical, more like abstract, ambient music, and everything in between. So any type of modern styling you'll find in these. Another great collection, I really like Faber and Faber's collections in general. This is Big Time, which is the level 4. I think all the level 4 books are called Big Time. This one in particular is called Kid Songs. Again, you don't have to be a kid to enjoy these. It's got great pieces like Meet the Flintstones, Cruella de Vil, Linus and Lucy, Hakuna Matata, pieces that most of us all know and love. And by the time you get to this level, like a grade 4 level, these kids pop books actually sound a lot more sophisticated. When you're learning pop music at a grade 1 level, it tends to be like really, really basic and simplistic, and it doesn't quite sound right. But at this level, they start sounding right. The last book that I'm going to share with you is called My First Jazz Standards Songbook. This is a gorgeous book. I love this book. It's fairly new to me, but it's in full color. The pages are just like completely beautiful. And one thing that's really cool with the way that it's laid out is that the contents, I don't know if you can see this, the contents are laid out by year. So there's like 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And it's a whole bunch of famous like jazz, blues, swing, like any type of standard like that. All at around probably, I would say like grade 3 to 5 in terms of difficulty. So this is an awesome book. I've been having a blast exploring it. There's a few pieces from this book in the grade 4 syllabus. I think there's a few pieces in the grade 5 level syllabus as well. So this is a book that you could use for multiple exams if you wanted. I highly recommend this one. And that is all for today's video on my favorite grade 4 level books. Definitely check out some of the other ones, as I mentioned, if you haven't already. And if you look in the description bar with this video, you can hop on over the blog post where you can find links to these books that I mentioned and like a list of them if you just want to have like a reference or something like that. Anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can hang out with me over on Patreon and Instagram and my other social things, which you can find a link to in the outro. And I'll catch you next time. Hurry up. I'm not hitting stop. Just keep going. Just move it along.
What was I supposed to do?
Keep it going.
Hi, Logan.